We also have the latest now on a growing concern for many here in southern Arizona regarding gas prices.
At question, is the price we're paying at the pump equal to the amount of fuel going into our vehicles? News 4 Tucson's Lupita Maria joining us live with more. What can you tell us, Lupita?
Inspectors with the Weights and Measures Division check out gas pumps throughout the state, wanting to make sure they're accurate. And I'm told that they've been very busy these last couple of months.
We're not only looking out for the consumer, but we're also looking out for the business to make sure that they're not losing money.
State inspectors check pumps to make sure they're accurate. They say consumer complaints are up 30% more than this time last year.
We had a couple of stores in the Tucson area and a couple of, when I say stores, retail fuel stations, and a couple in Bisbee, where we did find that the meters were not dispensing the amount of fuel that was displayed on the indicator. So they were actually out of tolerance in favor of the owner-operator.
When that happens, inspectors place a red ban over the pumps, putting them out of service. It remains that way until the pumps are repaired, and the inspector checks them out thoroughly to make sure they are accurate. A seal like this is placed on the pump. We asked Alan about what locations he was talking about, and he referred us to their website. And if you would like a closer look at the inspections, go to our website, KVOA.com, for more information. Coming up at 6 o'clock, you'll hear what consumers have to say about the inspections. Reporting live from near downtown, Lupita Murillo, News 4 Tucson.
Units with Rural Metro Fire spotted a residential fire on the south side near Drexel and Palo Verde. No one was home when crews arrived. The fire was under control within 10 minutes. However, we're told the family of two who live there, they're now displaced and the Red Cross is assisting. The cause of the fire, they say, was an electric water heater malfunction. As a safety tip, Rural Metro Fire encourages everyone to check your smoke alarms and change the batteries regularly. New at 5, residents at an apartment complex in Oracle were forced to evacuate after a fire broke out earlier this afternoon. Deputies with the Pima County Sheriff's Department and crews with Rural Metro Fire responding to the building. And we're told east and westbound Drexel Road will be closed at Masterson Avenue until further notice. No word yet on any injuries. We do have a crew headed to the scene. Well, Russian promises broken. Ukrainian officials say Russian forces pounded areas around Kyiv and another city overnight. The attacks came hours after Moscow pledged to scale back military operations in those places. The shelling further tempered optimism about any progress in talks aimed at ending the war.
Meanwhile, the Pentagon confirmed Russia started to reposition about 20% of its forces near Kyiv. At today's briefing, Pentagon spokesman John Kirby said there is no indication those forces have been sent home. The Russians have said they are going to prioritize the Donbass region and will conduct a number of airstrikes in the area. And according to the United Nations Refugee Agency, the number of refugees who have fled the war in Ukraine has reached more than 4 million. The mass exodus making it Europe's largest refugee crisis since World War II. More than half of those who have fled have sought refuge in neighboring Poland. Meanwhile, hundreds of thousands have fled to Romania, Moldova, Hungary, and Slovakia. A number of other nations have also taken in refugees fleeing the crisis. Earlier today, an American astronaut who spent nearly a year in space and two of his Russian counterparts touched down in Kazakhstan. They had been together on the International Space Station, and while here on Earth, Russia and the U.S. have been at odds over the war in Ukraine. Destiny Quinn has more.
250 miles above Earth's surface is arguably the only space these days where the U.S. and Russia are still currently finding common ground.
Undocking confirmed.
Overnight, American astronaut Mark Vande Hei leaving the International Space Station after 355 consecutive days in space, a new American record. He returned with two Russian cosmonauts. Their return to Earth comes just weeks after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. But tensions on the ground so far have not seemed to undermine camaraderie and commitment to science.
We are one crew, and I think ISS is like symbol of the friendship and cooperation.
But the head of Russia's space agency, Putin ally Dmitry Rogozin, has inflamed relations with threats, recently suggesting Russia could let the space station crash down to Earth.
When you're in space, you recognize you're here, there's Earth. We have stuff that's important to us, and that is, our emotional support, our friendship, working together, but also literally, relying on each other for our lives.
NASA's dependency on Russia has significantly waned in recent years thanks to the expansion of commercial spaceflight, with SpaceX now serving as the space agency's primary carrier. Earlier this month, a trio of Russian cosmonauts made headlines when they arrived at the space station wearing yellow and blue on their spacesuits, the colors of the Ukrainian flag. The Russian space agency denied it had anything to do with Ukraine. Destiny Quinn, News 4 Tucson.
An update now on a year-long News 4 Tucson investigation. A Tucson man who ran numerous assisted living facilities in southern Arizona will soon face trial. Now, he is accused of defrauding more than a dozen residents and their families out of thousands of dollars. In an exclusive interview with News 4 Tucson investigators, the accused gives his side of the story. Chris Nylander reports.
It's been 5 years, and several of the state's victims say they're still awaiting justice, but they hope for that to change in just a few weeks. Tonight, the man they accuse of stealing from them shares his story.
I say, hi, Amy. How you doing? And like she's still here,
Glenn Vieira fondly remembers his friend Amy Ardrey. This photo from her youth. Amy spent her last days inside Rancho Verde Hacienda, a Tucson assisted living home. In 2016, Vieira was the executor of Amy's estate. He says he paid the facilities manager, Jerome Davis, an entire year in advance for Amy's care. But he says she died a few months later, and Davis failed to refund all of the money.
They paid a couple of payments, and the final payment was for $6,300. And that check bounced.
And Vieira isn't the only one. In 2019, the Arizona Attorney General indicted Davis on 14 counts of theft and 1 count of fraudulent schemes. Prosecutors say 14 elderly residents lost more than $100,000 for fees they paid in advance.
Mr. Davis should have to pay for what he did.
After 2.5 years, Davis is about to stand trial for the charges. Davis sat down with the News 4 Tucson investigators.
There was no illegal activity that took place.
Davis has been referred to as the owner of Rancho Verde Care Homes by the Attorney General, but he says he is not the owner and has never held the required license to be a manager of an assisted living facility.
I have documentation stating that I was a consultant. I helped out with operations, but I was not the decision-making authority.
The News 4 Tucson investigators checked with the NCIA board, which oversees assisted living facility managers. They found no record of Davis ever holding a license. On the company's Better Business Bureau profile, though, Davis is listed as the owner. He says he doesn't know why. According to Arizona Corporation Commission records, Deborah Muse-Wolf was the owner, a woman Davis says he had a 9-year relationship with. Prosecutors say they were married, but he says they never were. The alleged victims say it was Davis they dealt with when handing over their money.
It was deliberate. He had this system going.
In May 2017, Adult Protective Services removed several residents from multiple Rancho Verde homes after caretakers reported not being paid. Davis denies not paying workers, but Industrial Commission records show 5 wage complaints against Davis in 2017.
That wasn't due to illegal activity, or misuse of funds. That's just the nature of business.
He's a scam artist. He blames everyone else.
Sabrina Smith was the owner of one of the impacted homes called Desert Villa. She says she had a 2-year lease to buy agreement with Rancho Verde Care Homes, allowing them to operate her home until closing on a sale. That never happened. She says Davis managed just about everything. She reported him to Adult Protective Services and the Attorney General right before residents were removed from several homes because she was hearing concerns from staff and residents. She says Davis still owes her upwards of $50,000.
I just happened to be the one facility that still had an owner who was involved. And so I stepped in first.
Davis says he's ready to put this all behind him.
This has been 5 years of my life, and I feel I'm entitled to say something to counter all the things that have been said against me.
Davis's trial was scheduled for May 2nd, but this evening his public defender tells us that date will likely be postponed once again, possibly reset for later this year. We'll update you on what is determined. Investigating for you, Cor Nylander, News 4 Tucson.
Coming up on News 4 Tucson at 5, President Biden celebrates a COVID-19 announcement with his second booster shot.
And later, a volcano erupts in the Philippines, forcing many to evacuate. Daniel.
And for us here in southern Arizona, it's a very different look today. Outside, we're seeing a few clouds passing us by. No good chance of rain, but we are going to be looking at these temperatures to eventually get back up to the 80s. I'll be talking about that. And if there's any good rain chance over the next few days, we're going to be taking a deeper dive on that during that time as well.
News 4 Tucson Skynet is sponsored by Jim Click Automotive Team.
And welcome back. As Governor Doug Ducey ends the COVID-19 emergency declaration in Arizona today, President Biden received his second booster shot. The booster comes after the CDC recommended people ages 50 and older receive a second booster dose of the Pfizer or Moderna vaccine. President Biden has urged Congress to provide billions of dollars more in COVID funding, as public health experts predict the U.S. may be on track to see another wave of COVID-19 infections.
We're now in a new moment in this pandemic. Does not mean that COVID-19 is over. It means that COVID-19 no longer controls our lives. That's what it means.
The president also announced the launch of COVID.gov. The site is a one-stop shop where anyone in America can find what they need to navigate the coronavirus, including free vaccines and boosters, free at-home tests, and the latest information about the COVID spread in the community. We'll be right back after the break.
You're watching News 4 Tucson at 5 with Sean Mooney, Priscilla Casper, and Chief Meteorologist Matt Bro. News 4 Tucson, investigating for you.
A small volcano erupted in a scenic lake near the capital of the Philippines, prompting authorities to tell residents to evacuate from high-risk villages. Magma came into contact with water in the main crater of Taal volcano, setting off the steam-driven blast that was followed by smaller emissions.
And closer to home here, another tornado wreaks havoc here in the U.S. The latest one hitting northwest Arkansas, destroying a gymnasium at an elementary school. According to police, at least 7 people have been taken to the hospital with injuries. 2 of them are in critical condition. A shopping center in Fayetteville also suffered heavy damage from the storm. Crews were using heavy equipment this morning to clean up debris from the parking lot. And right back here in Arizona, or more specifically, Snow Bowl in Flagstaff was hit. Is that what you'd call it? I think they just would be rejoicing. 14 inches of snow up there in the past 24 hours, 21 inches in the past 48 hours, the past couple days, and 197 inches for the season.
Oh my gosh. And at the end of March, Daniel.
I know. What are we doing here? Let's go.
I know.
Let's go to Flagstaff.
What is it, barely over a
Go
4-hour
skiing.
drive? You could be skiing, snowboarding.
Yeah, but we had some nice sunshine today.
Yeah, we did. I think today was just fantastic out there. And it's going to be good for the next week, too. No rain, no snow either, but we did see some pretty nice snow on Mount Lemon. About 3 to 4 inches here for us, so not 14, but it's something at least.
Not like Flagstaff.
We like what's going on down here a little better.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we'll go with that. For right now, those winds are starting to pick up quite a bit in some areas of Cochise County, but they're really peaking this time of day. We're not necessarily going to be having these really strong winds lasting for hours and hours throughout the evening like we had last week. Instead, you have some spots like Sierra Vista and Bisbee with their consistent winds picking up between about 15 and 25 miles per hour if you're near the border. Same thing with Wilcox. I know that reading is at 11, but they've also had some stronger winds. So if you're around there, consistent winds for you, closer to about 15 to 20. But for Tucson, things are going to be dropping quite a bit over the next couple hours. Calmer conditions overnight. We are going to be looking at much better conditions when it comes to winds during the weekend as well. At least for today's peak wind gusts, you do have those right around 25 miles per hour for Tucson. Nogales, very similar, but closer towards Sierra Vista and Douglas. That's where you're starting to see those darker colors. 40 to 50 mile per hour winds at higher elevations, but for Sierra Vista, at least where this measure is taken, closer to about 30 miles per hour for them. And as I mentioned before, things will be getting better on this front for tomorrow. Clear conditions for right now, winds dying down as I mentioned before, and the temperature has really stayed around 74 degrees for the last little bit. And that's going to be the case, I think, for probably the next hour or so before that sun goes down. Then we're going to be in the upper 60s for a while. And the reason why is because the humidity, even though it says 21%, is still pretty high for us for this time of year. So we're not going to see too many big changes with that temperature initially. But as we get drier after midnight, those lows should be back down into the 40s. And as you see right here, by about 10 o'clock or so, down to 60 degrees after about 1, which is only a couple hours after that, as you can see, mid 50s before we're down to 47 for Midtown, 46 for the airport for that low temperature early tomorrow morning. So yes, if you're waking up early, you're still going to need that jacket out there, but you're definitely not going to need it for the afternoon, as just about everyone around Tucson is going to be expecting at least the upper 70s, if not the low 80s for tomorrow. Another spot expecting the low 80s is going to be Ajo and Sells. A lot more dry air for them over there, which is why you're seeing their difference. Now for Cochise County, you have some spots like Wilcox and maybe even Tombstone getting close to that freezing point. If you have clear conditions in Tombstone, I wouldn't be surprised if you get down to 34 or 35, but there's a bit more cloud cover expected for you and portions of southern Cochise County for overnight tonight. Temperatures are going to be staying in the 80s for the next week or so, so it's going to be very stable. No more 90s, no more rain chances either. There's going to be some passing clouds and some days that are a tad bit breezier than others over the next week. A couple days I think might be a little windy is going to be Sunday, might be a day to watch, and maybe next Tuesday as that next cold front gets a little bit closer. We're not going to have too many big changes for us though with that next front. It's not going to be strong enough for anything like that. But we are going to be having those lows eventually getting back down to, I think, the mid-40s by next weekend. But let's get out and enjoy this weekend. Yeah, a few extra clouds here and there, but really looking at the 80s for both of those days. And the mornings starting off the 50s. Can't ask for anything much better.
No, it's just fantastic. Get out for a walk with the pups, and it's just it's a nice way to start your day.
Oh, yeah. Some might even like the afternoon temperatures. I know not a whole lot of dogs probably like last weekend, but this is looking better.
Yeah, especially we're used to the 100-plus 90s. You can still get out there, and I see people running in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So
still try earlier, I'd say.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Daniel. Well, the 4th Avenue Spring Street Fair, perfect weather for it. It's right around the corner, but there are some street closures to be aware of beforehand. So starting tomorrow at noon, 4th Avenue will close south of University to 8th Street. 4th, 5th, and 7th Street will shut down from 3rd Avenue to 5th Avenue, as well as 8th Street from Hoff Avenue to Herbert Avenue. All roads are expected to reopen by early Monday morning. And coming up on News 4 Tucson at 5, find out how you can make a difference during this year's Arizona Gives Day.
Plus, details on why Bruce Willis is stepping away from the big screen. Keep it here. News 4 Tucson at 5 is coming right back.
We are less than a week from Arizona Gives Day, which is a 24-hour online fundraising event for local organizations. More than 1,000 nonprofits are expected to take part. Organizers say the money raised helps organizations, big and small, continue their missions to help Southern Arizonans succeed. Now, it's all happening online from noon on April 5th to noon on April 6th.
And some sad news to report today. 67-year-old action film star Bruce Willis, best known as John McClane in the Die Hard movies, is stepping away from acting after he was diagnosed with aphasia. Now, the news was revealed on social media today by his daughter, Rumor. She wrote, "To Bruce's amazing supporters, as a family, we wanted to share that our beloved Bruce has been experiencing some health issues and has recently been diagnosed with aphasia, which is impacting his cognitive abilities. As a result of this, and with much consideration, Bruce is stepping away from the career that has meant so much to him." Aphasia is a condition that affects a person's ability to communicate via speech, writing, and understanding language. We'll be right back.
Anyone who comes to the movie.
Grove and Oracle were forced to evacuate. The fire broke out earlier this afternoon there. Deputies with the Pima County Sheriff's Department and crews with Rural Metro Fire are responding to the building. East and westbound Drexel Road will be closed at Masterson Avenue until further notice. Stay clear of that area if you can. No word yet on if there are any injuries. We will stay on this, and we will have a live report coming up at 6.
All right. Thank you for joining us. Nightly News with Lester Holt is coming up next.
And we'll see you right back here at 6 o'clock.
From KVOA, investigating for you. This is News 4 Tucson, live at 6.
have that on TV? All right. Do you want a Band-Aid?
Investigating for you. This is News 4 Tucson. You're watching News 4 Tucson at 6 with Sean Mooney, Amanda Gomez, and Chief Meteorologist Matt Bro. Sports Director Paul Sakala. News 4 Tucson, investigating for you.
And speaking of the FC Tucson soccer team, the Men in Black have added red jerseys to their game attire with these cool uniforms we first introduced. The LPGA has just announced that the 10-year requirement that kept
investigating for you. This is News 4 Tucson.
I step off into this side, right?
It's VO, bro.
So, okay, bro.
Make sure the VNA has it.
It's Claire.
Claire, whatever.
Like yesterday.
Really?
And 4 is doing the same thing. Yes. Okay, cool.
Okay. All right, I did.
Yeah, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 8, 9, 10. I just sent a script. I just sent a script to you guys. Oh. They can't hear us. They do. Okay, can you hear me now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Got it. Yeah, I just sent a script. It's all we know. We did send VO. Alex got some really good video, and she sent it into Vito. Okay, you'll let us know if you get it. Thanks.
So I'm gonna go grab my vehicle because I got more. I'm gonna grab my vehicle.
Okay.
House fire on the west side. They said Eric there? I thought he had a interview to do.
If you get it. Yes, we should come back on camera at police say it's too early in the investigation to say if foul play is involved. Traffic on Santa Cruz Lane here is open in both directions. That is the latest from here on the west side. We're live. I'm Eric Fink, News 4 Tucson. So police say it's too early in the investigation. Should be to come back to live.
All right, I'll go again.
Now, a few details are known about this 3-alarm fire. It started around 2 o'clock this afternoon here at the Barcelona Manor condominium.
Say, I can hear you. I love that.
Yeah, you hear me?
Yeah, here, I gotcha.
Hi, Clarita. What's up? Yeah, because Ricky said it's going to take a couple minutes.